Welcome to Men on Purpose. This is interview 2 with Adam McCaughey. Brother, thank you so much for joining us today.
Most welcome, brother. Glad to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
This is going to be a lot of fun. And for those of you who don't know Adam, we've connected a couple of months ago through friends of friends. We've kind of been one or two friends of acquaintances from kind of outside of our circles. And we've finally been connected the last couple of weeks, couple of months. And I just love your story, and I love how you're following your purpose. I find that your story is inspiring, and then how you're choosing to show up every day and share on social media, and how you're married and you're so business focused and you're so health focused. It's inspiring. So I definitely wanted you to be a guest here. Just for everyone at home that doesn't know you, I'll give you a quick little intro. So at the age of 15, he was working in kitchens at some of the best restaurants in the world. And then he moved and started networking with some multimillionaires and billionaires as their private chef and their personal trainer. And at the age of 21, he actually then started working with other billionaire families on super yachts, and then decided to create his own business. So I'm so curious about that, what you learned from these people. That sounds so interesting.
It's
And
pretty
then
crazy.
Adam went off to create his own first online business. And in month 2, he generated $35,000 in month 2, which is crazy. Fast forward 5 years, he's now scaled 2 businesses to 8 figures and multiple other businesses to 6 and 7 figures. He now helps other clients. He does phone sales, working with $3,000 programs, $40,000 programs, helping businesses transform by integrating systems, recruitment, sales, and automation. You are an absolute beast. And I'm so
Thank you,
curious to
bro.
know and unpack all that. Let's just start off with your story, bro. Like, how did you get into all this?
Hmm.
Where did the seed start?
Hmm. So I think for myself, I went to for 3 different schools when I was growing up, and I couldn't really find that connectedness with friends, with work, with career. I was the type of guy that didn't really know what they wanted to do throughout the whole schooling life. So for me, that left kind of like an always mysterious, like not really sure direction I wanted to go in. And I ended up getting suspended from school and expelled, which is insane. So it was crazy because my whole family used to say to me, I'm not actually going to become more. I'm just going to stay where I am, staying to drugs, staying to graffitiing, staying to drinking, all this type of stuff, which is really fascinating for me back then, looking back at it now, because I had this big feeling inside of me to prove them wrong. That's just my whole life. I've still got it today. So then I went to school, I got expelled, suspended, and then one day I wanted to become a chef. I just got inspired by my auntie cooking one day. So then she offered me to start looking for jobs, started looking for work when I was 15. I found an amazing restaurant in Sydney. It was a three-header restaurant at the time, which is pretty insane. So people spend anywhere from, $300 to $1,000 per meal, which is a lot of money, if you think about it, for a meal. So then I started working there. I absolutely got it destroyed. People were abusive to me. I was getting things thrown at me. I was going to the cool room upstairs, and the chef used to throw things at me. My second day, like I had an avocado in my hand. I really wanted to open it up. So I got the knife and went straight through my hand. I was in hospital. And I just had all these guesses of like, is this really what I want to do? And I think if I can look back in those type of times, I think those type of working conditions creates basically intangible values in yourself and traits. So that really taught me work ethic. That really told me to, it doesn't matter what's happening externally, just to focus on what you can control. And then I kept showing up no matter what. Like some days, most days, I'll go home crying from work, and I'd be thinking, fuck, do I really want to come back, man? Like people abuse me, people are yelling at me, people are crying, I'm crying, it's just too much, too toxic. And then every single day I went back no matter what. So I think that's the same thing I implement in my business today. It doesn't matter how bad the day was before, it doesn't matter how bad I guess, things are going, or if it's a bad month, I'm always getting back into it. I'm always going back and showing up in myself in my business as well. So then from working in kitchens, I ended up meeting some really amazing people at these restaurants because that's the type of people that we would attract. And then I found my first family I was working for. So I was working for them as a chef and a personal trainer. And they're paying me, I think, $1,500 a week, which was a lot of money for me back then. And I was thinking, that's pretty cool. That's crazy. And then from that one family, I found 5 other families I was working for together. So I was basically working all around Sydney, these really rich homes for rich families, which is really cool. And then one day, this family, they rang me up and they said, "Hey, look, I want you to be our chef. Come to Brisbane next weekend and you can cook for us. And if we like you, you can come to Fiji with us." I was like, that's pretty insane, you know? So that literally happened. I literally said yes, why not? And I went to Brisbane. I blew them away. And then they took me to Fiji. I was working, living on their super yacht for 6 months. And that changed my life because that gave me a whole new perspective of what's actually possible. You know, and it gave me the idea that maybe in life people were playing too small. And I feel like for me, I was playing way too small, working and doing what I was doing. So that gave me that really big strength. And more importantly, like it's possible. You know, I used to put these really successful people on such pedestals, right? I think they have so much and I want to have that as well. And I can't have it because I'm not to that level. But when you realize people are people and it's just about what you know and how do you apply it, I think that's the life-changing moment for me when I was working on those boats and for those families. So that was a big story for myself, Zach, like putting all those things together. But most importantly, I spent probably 100, 150K on courses like Tony Robbins and sales trainings and lots of different events as well, NLP, masters, all this other stuff to help me become better. So yeah, it's a working progress, but you know, definitely getting there.
That is that is so common,
Mm,
that, you know, when I interview super successful people, it doesn't just come out of nowhere, right? You've been
doesn't come.
working your ass off for a long period of time and spending a
Mm,
lot of time, energy, resources on living and living, wanting to live a better life. So
mm,
yeah, where did that work ethic come from? You know, you're going to work, you're smashing yourself in the restaurant.
mm.
Um, like, is that something you learned from your parents, or
Well, it's kind of the
like,
opposite actually. Like my mum, she wasn't very like she wasn't really working that much. She was always trying the best that she could, but it was very like, you know, 9 till 3, clock off, she's done. My dad, on the other hand, I feel like seeing him work, like he was working like an absolute animal, like a business. He was working at a really successful job, but he could never make ends meet. I remember some certain times in my life where, for example, when I was 12, I remember sitting in the car and my dad was ordering food with us to, I think it was like KFC, we used to eat that type of shit, getting KFC. And then he went to go pay and all his cards declined. And then he went trying to look for cash and try to pay everything in cash. And then for me, I think those type of moments really instilled something in me to never have that for myself and my family. So the work ethic is there. And it's that push, it's that scarcity. I don't know if it's a good drive. I don't know if it's a good fuel. I think the fuel is coming from a lack place. But as I'm evolving in myself, I'm trying to have more of an integrated fuel source so I can perform longer and better. You
yeah,
know, from more place of love and connectedness, not so much from a place of lack. What if it doesn't work? Then everything falls over. That's kind of always that scarcity mindset of not being good enough, you know?
sure, I can relate to that. You know, it's like, um,
It's a
you know,
big thing.
seeing my parents struggle and going through tough
Mm,
times earlier on, and having, yeah, I don't think about too much now, but if I really think about it, I was like,
mm,
wow, what was little Zach feeling in that moment?
yeah,
What was I really going through? And I think those times, those challenging
100%.
times, have created that value that I have for wealth now,
Mm,
or quality time, or freedom,
100%,
you
100%. Not
know?
just that, with the high achievers like yourself or myself, we would have little Zach or little Adam, right? And they're so burnt, they're so torn, they're so like crippled from all this neglect in their past, you know, all these things they used to say to themselves. And all of a sudden, you've got little Adam trying to run a successful business. You've got little Zach trying to run a successful business. And then the emotions and the limiting beliefs, the trauma start coming out. And that's when things start to really fall apart, you know? So it's important to have that integrated part of business, not just so push, 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 push. That's how people burn out, you know? I was working for this family
Sure.
and they were, if not the richest family in Australia at the time. They're worth a lot of money. And I never saw the guy smile, which made me think, you know, like what are we actually wanting? And he still worked 365 days a year. He still worked through Christmas. He worked every time. And it makes me think like he's like, you know, 7 years old. What does people actually want? Like what do you actually want to achieve? Like when are you actually going to hit that point to be like, you know what, I'm done. There's a difference between growth and starvation. I think people always live in that starvation type of that life, you know, trying to always get more, even to have more, you know?
It's so interesting, yeah. And I love about your story is that you've taken these experiences and you've turned it into fuel and they're kind of like their experiences that it's on the way rather than in the way, and
Mm,
you've utilized them and you standing on the challenges and learning from it and keep moving forward. I think some people find these challenges and then turn into victim mode and go the other way.
mm.
So, and that's such an interesting point. So this was a 70-year-old man, you said, and he's working just nonstop,
Never,
and he had
never
no,
stopped working.
yeah,
Massive company, thousands of employees, right?
yeah,
Never stopped, which makes me really think, like, what's the point of, like, if you're working so much to get something, like, when is enough enough? I love the growth mindset, nothing is ever enough, but I just think there's such a difference between growth and having that feeling of not being good enough. Because if you have that limiting belief driving you, not being good enough, it doesn't matter what you have, you never be good enough. You never achieve what you want to achieve because you're never going to get there. It's like that metaphor of like always trying to grab the string, and then as soon as you grab it, it's going to move again. It doesn't matter how far you keep grabbing, it's always going to move. So I think, as successful entrepreneurs, it's important to incorporate something in your life that gives you an integrated place of business and flow and drive and connection, not from a place of lack. That's really important.
yeah. I was chatting to a friend about this today. It's like when, and I can relate to it, I'm sure we can relate to it. It's like you get what you want.
Mm,
you've in a state of, say, um, frustration or uncomfortable, and it's like, all right, I'm
mm,
going to go after it. I'm going to get it. And it's like you work your ass off and you get there, and then, like you're saying, that's not enough, and then that's not enough, and that's not enough. It's like there's
mm,
this endless string chasing the string. So
mm,
do you think that's like, when you look at people like Gary Vee, or I don't know, like Tony Robbins, or some of these successful people, Jeff Bezos and stuff, do you think they have the same challenges, or do you think they have like is it about a different relationship with that?
mm.
Because, getting to
I
the
always
end
think that.
and
I always
regretting
wondered that. I always wondered that as
time.
well. I
Yeah.
always wonder if these people have the same things. I think some do. I think most do actually. I think it's about integrating in their life though. I think there's non-negotiables you should have in your own life, in your own day to day. Because especially yourself, and myself, we can go the whole day working without a break, just like hustling, hustling, hustling. Never stop. So there needs to be a point in your life where you actually start integrating proper foundations and principles to live a life. You don't want to look back when you're 60 and think, fuck, I've got so much money, but what else? What else have I have? I don't have experiences. I don't have moments. I don't have memories. I don't have anything. So it's really important to embody that as well in your life. But then you can go the other way where people don't take action, they don't get what they want in life, and they're just, very complacent. Maybe, they may have a negative connotation around money, belief, they reject all that type of stuff. So I think there's a really powerful balance between spirituality and also like business focus, entrepreneur mindset, all that type of stuff. To find
Mm,
that balance is important.
for sure. I've been really unpacking like why
Mm.
I am so focused, and why I really want to create freedom and financial freedom and stuff like that. And I think
What is that for you?
for me, yeah, looking back on it, my family, like I didn't meet my real dad till I was
Mm.
7. And I had
Wow.
multiple stepdads, and my mum was always working her business. She's an entrepreneur. She's never really even had a job, but she's always had a business where she's traded still time for money. She hasn't really turned into that investor, so to speak, on the wealth quadrant.
Mm.
So that caused her to be in the rat race and then not sit down and say, hey, like, let's go on holiday, or let's do this,
Mm.
let's do that. She provided, she was the best mom ever. I
Mm.
still had all the amazing things, but there wasn't that quality time
Mm.
together and those
Mm.
memories that you said. Same with my dad. We've only ever done like one little trip across to Perth for a bit of a road trip, but it was never like, hey, let's go, let's plan this or plan that, or hey, let's look. So for me, I didn't have that quality time young in my
Mm.
upbringing. So now I'm like, I want to create freedom,
Mm.
network marketing, residual income, passive investments, whatever it is. So yeah, that's,
That's amazing. Yeah.
yeah. What about you? What have been some of those like challenging experiences that have really
Mm.
made you who you are today?
I think that by far one of the most challenging experiences was when I was after this billionaire, actually before this family. So before I found that really big client, I had six really powerful clients. I was making anywhere from 5 to 10K a week. I wasn't saving my money at the time. I was just spending, spending, spending. Wasn't really had the right, structure because I didn't think I deserved that much. Like all of these things came into action for me then. And what happened is overnight, I lost my whole business. So all the clients I had for a good purpose. So these people, they said to me that they had to work the business went overseas, or something happened in their relationship, or all these type of things happened. And what happened is lost everything overnight. So that led me from being making good money to having $0 in the bank. And once I lost my purpose, then I started going downhill. And I didn't want to, I was waking up at midday. I wasn't really motivated, to the point where I had no money in the bank and I was living in my car. So if you go to my Instagram, I actually had photos of myself living in my car. I had all my stuff, everything I own in my car, which is insane. No, it's really, really insane. And the one day that challenged me the most was for the first time in, I think it was a week of living in my car. I was like, I really want to go to the gym. I just want to, I want to change my physiology. I want to change myself. I want to feel better. So I had some, as you probably know, I had the Isogenics pre-workout in the car. I was thinking, fuck, I want to have some of that with a cup and a water. Boom, amazing, done. So I went to the 7-Eleven to get a cup. And what happened is I went there and I said, can I get a cup? He's like, yeah, so that'd be $1 or something. I was like, what? How? It's just the cup. Okay, cool. So then I put the cup there, I swiped it and it declined. And I tried my other card and it declined. I looked at my account, it was like negative something. Plus, I was in $62,000 debt at the time, from courses, from car, from just so much stuff, man. And then that was the point. I sat in my car and I finally came to terms where I was, because I was living in this reality, this illusion of where I think I'm going or think I am. But I never actually sat in the car thinking, fuck, this is where I am right now. This is my whole life around me now. I've got no money. I've got a really like shit car. I'm in debt. All my stuff's in the car. I haven't made a cent in income for like a week. Like, what am I actually doing? Where am I going? So I started screaming to myself. I started crying. I started feeling like that feeling of like emotions and sadness and trauma and guilt, all this other stuff. So I got out of the car in Manly Beach. I started sprinting on the beach, just literally like yelling, sprinting, running. I ran all the way from Shelley Beach all the way across to the other side, just feeling that like powerful emotion in me and trying to like break out of that state. And then the week after, because I had so much momentum at that time, because I just wanted to change my life and had that massive shift. That's when I found 4 new clients and I was making 4K a week again. And that's when I found another family, when I was doing those type of works at the time. And then in that downside for myself, when I was really focusing on like trying to make money, trying to give value and all this type of stuff. So I started to think, fuck, I'm really good at sales. And this was when I was younger. I'm really good at selling. So why don't I just incorporate selling and try to find people to sell for? And then I was selling for 3 different accounts back then, plus doing my chef job, plus had a chef working for me. And that's when I hit my peak back then. But it all happened. And I think it all came together because in that moment of me not really having any certainty, because that's what was taken away from me, my certainty. So then I had lots of money to no money, because I wasn't respecting money when I had it, and I didn't really know how to feel when I didn't have it. So I was living in this paradigm of like, I've got no money. I don't want to feel like I have no money. I don't want to feel like I've got nothing to give, no certainty. So I was just not coming into terms with the reality I was living in, until I sat in the car and I was really raw with myself. And that's when I really focused on the breakthrough I had, because I was very focused on myself and nothing else. So it's important, I think, in life with people, especially with myself, is to try not to live in another reality. Like really focus. Yes, manifestation is amazing, but I was manifesting so much stuff back then I didn't get anything because I didn't put any action into it as well. You can be the fastest runner. You can do the most. You can manifest everything all you want, trying to find the sunrise running west, but you're not going to find it. It doesn't really matter. You can have the most amazing work ethic, but if you don't have the right strategy, you're not going to get far. So that's what I learned, when I was in that whole situation for myself. But I think to tie all that together, you kind of have to go down to come back up. I think my life has always been up and down. So that's why when I'm up now, I've respected a lot more and I really want to like keep that. And that's the scarcity that I have, to not go back to that point ever again. Because that was quite a daunting point for me.
Oh, I've been there, man. I totally relate to that, 100%, and multiple times.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's full on. Yeah.
to the point as well. I used to go for lunch with friends and like the bill would come and I couldn't pay. Like I used to go to
Yeah.
different places and I literally could not pay.
Yeah.
And I had this note to my phone. I've still got it today actually, of all my friends that loan money to me, plus debt and everything. And I just used to look at it every morning. First thing in the morning, it'll just make me feel down. And I feel like, fuck, I'm in the like trenches. I can't get out of this. And I used to feel that feeling the whole day. So it's important to like, yeah, I think your relationship around money and around debt is a really important relationship in life with anything.
Relationship with money, relationship with debt.
With that,
So,
yeah, because I
and
used to feel like with
yeah,
money for me, I used to feel like if I have it, I have to give it away because I don't deserve it. Because my mum, more so my mum had such a negative relationship with money. Like she wouldn't spend anything on me when I was growing up. That's really what I remember. Everything was too expensive. Even today, everything's too expensive. You know, it's changing the words you associate with money.
yeah,
It's really powerful. It's really powerful.
100%. So you said all the like I think this is so relevant because some people get lost in an identity of what you said, a lifestyle, right? You're
Mm,
kind of living maybe above your means at the time. Um, and then that gets taken, and then it's just like, oh gosh, reality hits. So how do you, if someone might be living in that, how did you check yourself? Obviously you had to hit rock bottom to check yourself, but how does someone start to create that healthy relationship with reality? And I guess it's the other thing, it's like the expectations of, if I do focus on reality, and then I'm gonna, like, truth hurts, it stings. It's like, oh yeah,
mm,
actually I'm broke, or think, I'm fat.
mm,
Like, it's going to be acknowledging that. And I think that's why most people will try and be a persona or put off a certain way on social media or speak in a
mm,
certain way. But then in private, they're just like,
mm.
so I guess
I
it
think
comes back to
a
lying
really
or
big
being
thing as
truthful with
well,
self.
in saying that, like a really big thing as well, is like this is why for me, I think the personal development industry in itself, because I did lots of one day events, lots of Tony events, lots of really cool seminars. And that's where I thought that it stopped. Like I go to one event, I get my fix, and I'm fixed for life, you know, and you never really go into the darkness within yourself.
Mm,
You're not really doing much shadow work. You're not really doing energy work. You're not going to speak to people about traumas in your life. You're not really resolving things, you know. So a really great quote, I think it's by Rumi, like wherever you go, there you are. And that's really important. I kept trying to, people, even especially myself, I kept trying to escape myself by going to places, by seeing people, by going traveling, by doing something to try and escape myself. But wherever I go, there I am. So, because I'm not dealing with my stuff. And then, you know, business is an extension of you. If you run your business, you run it by the same limiting beliefs you have, you know, a lot of things. And that's what I really found out in the last 2, 3 years. The more I healed myself, the more I dealt with myself and looked myself in the eye and had these tough conversations with myself, the more that I could make in my business, the more that I would have stronger connections around me. And most importantly, the more I have purpose. You know, I think purpose comes, the more you can construct purpose in your mind and your heart and your soul, the more you live a vivid life. That's what I really found.
absolutely. Yeah, let's definitely dive into the purpose part in a second. What can people do to, what can we do to improve our relationship with money, or budgeting, or tips on budgeting, or to have like any certain practices that you did to help you look in the mirror, journaling or breath
Mm,
work or therapy or
mm,
anything
mm,
like that that really helped you excel during that time, or that you
mm.
still maybe lean on now?
Mm-hmm. I think the relationship with money, I think that's a really big one, which I didn't get when I was growing up. I used to think that, you know, if I save 10% a week, then I'll have $100, for example, back then. But then in today, what the firm belief that I really have is to make a lot of it, to give a lot of value. You know, instead of trying to get a small coffee at Starbucks, why don't you just focus on making an extra 10K a week or 10K a month? Because that's going to solve a lot of problems for yourself, you know? People try and budget, they don't, because then they think if it's like for me, I always try to budget now. I'm always focusing on a really great workflow for myself. I'm always trying to like stay in the same amount that I'm making and kind of put money in all these different places. But I think if you focus on making more money and if you focus on adding more value to the world, then you can then focus on other ways of investing and budgeting and whatnot. Because with budgeting, people's mindsets are limited for some people, not all people, some people, because they think, okay, cool, I've got $1,000 a week coming in. From that, I'm going to put $200 a week there. Then it's, for example, 20% every week. And it's kind of fixed in a way. They're not thinking, how can I make more money? That's the question. But not how can I make more money? How can I add more value? Because that's how you get paid. How do I add more value? How do I learn a new skill set? You know, so sales and marketing and like an agency was is my thing now. You know, so that was my skill set. That is my skill set. So I think for people, it's like, how do I add more value to the world at a massive scale to get paid a lot of money? That's the question people should ask themselves. I think with people in general, It's the questions you ask yourself that's what's going to give you the answers that you want in the world. So if you ask yourself limited questions, you're going to get limited answers. That's what I firmly believe. So if you want to have more change and impact in the world, you've got to ask yourself better questions. I'm a firm believer of that. So as a practice for me, I always do, I always try and like zone out in the days. Thinking time is important. I'm always more consciously now. I mean, this year's been crazy for me in a lot of ways with work and everything. But something that I really like to integrate is thinking time. So if I'm going action, like do, action, 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 I'm not actually focusing on the whole entirety of things I'm doing, which kind of damages things in a way. Because you want to be working in, not on, right? On, not in. So it's important to understand that. And I think what's really important as well, like doing gratitude meditation every morning, that's something that's really helped me. It's the consistency in that, which is going to get people the results they want. Myself haven't been doing it a lot recently, but when I do it consistently, it gets me feeling amazing and it gets me raising results and start looking at life in a whole different way. So it's trying to have that integrated flow state in yourself with also a combination of work and action. I really do firmly believe that's where the success is with people, combining them both together.
That's awesome. That is so interesting. That's awesome. Yeah, and doing those things over and over and over again has really built
Over
that
and
up.
over.
It's over.
Mm.
It's over
I
and
think
over and over.
gratitude is a
Yeah.
staple in
Mm.
someone's day. And kind of knowing, like, there's a lot of things I do, which I just do. Like, I always use a calendar. I always space my day out in like 10 minutes, so I'm really productive. Like, that's a really big thing for me. Punctuality, like, a lot of little things that I do, a lot of principles that I have, a lot of traits that I have in business. It's kind of in my whole life, you know? Awareness is a really big thing, right? Like, I think it's about valuing your time enough. People give their time away so easily and so freely today. Like it's like always that metaphor of coaches. When they start doing coaching, they always coach people for free and they end up doing all these things for free, which is insane. People, I think the biggest thing that I changed in my life was valuing my time. And the more that I valued my time, the more that I charged. And, in the same way, people paid that because they can see the value. The worst thing that you can do is give your time away freely. That's the worst thing that you can do.
Touched upon so many golden nuggets just then. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. No, that's so good. The gratitude for one, right? I know
Gratitude's
so
huge.
many people that have so much, they're still not grateful. That's definitely the key. The time blocking. Did you say
Mm.
10-minute little blocks?
I do, yeah, because I do a lot of calls in my businesses. I do a
Yep.
lot of like, I've got a lot of moving parts, a lot of people, like I'm managing, leading, not managing, leading 10 people at the moment, everything I'm doing.
Yep.
So having time blocks, like in blocks, like for example, I may have like an hour block to focus on, let's say, systems in two different businesses. And in that hour block, I want to focus on six different things. And then every 10 minutes, boom, 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 boom. And you really focus. And then after the hour, have a bit of a break, celebrate, because like with gratitude as well, it's really important because you want to celebrate wins even if they're not big wins. I think as entrepreneurs, as people like doing their own thing, we put so much like fucking pressure on ourselves to perform all the time, and we won't be happy unless we reach this massive fucking goal, which we'll probably never reach. So it's important to start celebrating your wins, which I do a lot now. So for example, if I close a deal, if I do something else, if I get a new business, whatever it is, if I get that, I celebrate within and I feel really happy and really grateful for that. Because if you don't, then what's the point of doing anything? You're literally working 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year to then not feel any happiness within your business, which is a whole part of your life. So you need to really like put that into terms.
Yeah, this is so great, man. This is so good. You can imagine, this is some great advice that you probably wish you heard and wish I heard, earlier.
Yeah, for sure.
These are
100%.
some golden
For
nuggets.
sure.
Celebrating the victories. So that's really important. I think most people, especially our generation, is that we celebrate too early though. I find the
Mm,
celebration happens and then it's just like whatever I've celebrated too early and I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta keep working, or like I've celebrated too
yeah.
hard. I'm now hungover for 5 days. Like yeah, but another one you really touched upon there as well, um, around the aspect of what was that first one? Oh gosh, I didn't write it down. I was so in the moment there. There was just something else that you touched on, which was really, really important. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
it'll come back to me in a minute. So yeah, these little habits, this is so good. And I want to ask you, what is your definition of success before we get into the purpose stuff? Like, what is your definition of success? Because I feel like sometimes definition, my
Mm,
definition has definitely changed over the years. Um, so what was your definition of success 10 years ago? And what is it now? Is it the same or different?
mm. I think when I was working as a chef and had a really big PT business at the time, when I was working doing those two things together, my definition was always to be the best. If I wasn't the best, I would get deflated. That's how I used to feel all the time. And that's what led me to when I was working as a chef. I worked at the four best restaurants in 3 years. I worked at a restaurant called Noma in Denmark. I worked at a restaurant called Alenia in Chicago. Worked at a restaurant called Attica in Melbourne, Rockpool in Sydney. Worked at some really amazing restaurants. And I think if I didn't have that feeling of success being the best, then I probably wouldn't have done that in a way. But at the same time, when I got to the best and when I was working this restaurant called Noma, I always wanted to keep working and doing more things. That wasn't enough. Nothing was enough. So my success story that I used to put onto like into my existence wasn't really a good story. And I wasn't until about 5 years ago I changed that. 4 years ago, actually, I changed that. And I think success for me now is having like a lot of wealth. So wealth can just not just be in money, but wealth can be in relationships. So relationships with business partners, with friends, with family, like emotions. I think success for me now, it's wealth and emotions. That's the two biggest things: wealth, health, and emotions. Because I think emotions are a big part of people's day. And I used to neglect them a lot when I was working as a chef, when I was working in kitchens, I was working for these really rich families. I would feel like I've made it monetary because I had a really great job, if you want to call it like that. But my emotions when I was working there was this anxiety, this void, this not coming to terms, like angry, sadness, all these things used to feel like that. And I didn't really feel successful. But now I can easily like go away, travel for a month, and still work, but just have a whole entire different experience in my internal emotions, which I think is huge. Like I'd rather, have 100K a month business and feel amazing inside than have $1 million business and feel absolutely terrible. This is how it is. So I think if we have a strong success foundation and structure within ourselves, we're going to keep achieving more heights. That's the biggest thing. Because if you're struggling at the moment now and you're making, let's say, 50K a week or 50K a month, and your success story is not the best, when you have more money, it's more responsibility. That's how people get paid. You're adding more value, so there's going to be more things that are going wrong potentially, more fires to put out. So then it's going to get even worse, your success story. So for me, success is all about wealth, health, and emotions. I really firmly believe that.
So glad you added the emotional part because yeah, that's huge, right? The
It's
amount of
huge,
I
man.
think
It's
it's
huge.
like 7 to 15 men commit suicide here in Australia during COVID. The
Mm,
kids that were committing suicides off the charts. We've got you know, there's the documentary by Matt Walsh talking about what is a woman, and he talks about the different this whole
mm,
confusion around, especially mainly in America. I don't think we've had it that much here in Australia,
mm,
hopefully yet, where
mm.
boys are getting sex changes at such a young age and deciding to do it, and women and girls doing the same, and their parents can't say
Okay.
anything because it's in the law that if they
Mm,
speak up, then they go to jail
mm.
because they're like denying. It's just so sad. So I think but
Exactly.
if we could look at the
Exactly.
emotional state, whatever title, whatever identity someone wants to believe. I think if a kid was feeling a state of
Mm,
balance, calm, health, seen, heard,
mm.
loved, there wouldn't be the desire for a sex change or depression or suicide. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
So,
It's also with kids as well. Like I think, teaching, not like hear me out before you say something. So teaching kids sales, that's teaching people sales. Because if you teach kids and you teach this whole generation of people selling, sales, like NLP, mind, like hypnosis, all this stuff, if you teach everyone that, not because they can use it, because they can know it's being done on them. Because if you go through MSN, if you go through like mainstream media, if you go through how they say things to people and all the influence they have, it's powerful. It's some serious work with people that they're saying. They're saying a lot of really mind controlling things in the world right now. It's insane how people just follow and like jump to that. And I think especially in this whole, if you want to call it a movement, with this whole transgender thing and everything, people the way people are coming across, like the media, is kind of accepting it. You know, I think because they're planting it so small at the moment, like they did with other things in the last 2 years. It's like, if you want to boil a frog, you would boil it starting from cold and then going to hot. If you put it in boiling water, it's going to jump out straight away. So they're kind of priming you, into this whole thing. That's how people do things. They prime. So it's like teaching kids to, and it goes against the traditional schooling system because, we don't want to empower people too much in the schooling system. We just want them to survive. So it's like trying to teach kids and trying to teach this whole generation to understand sales and understand NLP and understand these other things so they can know when people are using these tactics on them, most importantly, because sales can either be influence or manipulation. If it's influence, it's win-win. So if I sell you a program and I change your life and then I get paid for that, it's win-win. But if like with this whole thing with this whole movement, it's win-lose, so the media is winning, but these other people are losing, these families are losing. So it's important to teach them how to understand what's going on another level.
100%. Two main things there. I totally agree with you on that. It's
Mm,
like, yeah, educating the kids on the manipulation that's going on
mm.
is crucial for them to
Crucial, man.
think. I think a
Crucial.
society that is taught to think is a threat to those
And
that are winning.
question. And
And
question. Thinking
question,
question. Yeah.
generation Y, we got to ask why.
Mm,
you know
yeah.
um
Yeah,
and
of
the other,
course.
yeah, no, that is such an important point there. Working on the inside out. And the other point there is that there's a war on family. There's a
Mm,
war to separate, destroy the family. And when there's no family unit, there's going to be more trauma, there's going to be more confusion, more addiction, more industry, more spending, more
mm,
um, you know, influenceable um, people.
mm,
Next generation apparently only takes one generation of really building a new family, coming together, coming
mm,
together to shift the whole future of humanity, really. And that's what this is all about. It's like choosing to be a man, us
mm,
as men choosing to be a man, and then what does it mean to be a man? And then choosing as a man, there's purpose. When I've figured
mm,
out why I'm here, what I'm good at, like the ikigai, what I'm good at, what the world needs, what I can get paid for, when I figure out
mm,
that, it's given me so much focus. And then when I start
mm,
focusing on this, taking action on it, I get rewarded externally, the
mm,
results come in, and it's just like this beautiful progression. But that's that's why I have my Awaken Your Purpose video program, is to help give people that insight. There is a way to uncover it for people, but how have
mm,
you
mm,
uncovered your purpose? Like, how has that developed? Do you feel like you found your purpose? Are you still like, where
mm,
where is that for you?
I think I'm really like, because I didn't have a purpose for a long time, so I know what it's like not to have a purpose. There's a big difference. It's the biggest thing. I cannot do it. I cannot have a normal day without not having a purpose. And it's so true because when I was like after I finished the boat, I was living in my car, I had all that stuff happening. I had no purpose. So there was no reason for me to wake up in the morning. I didn't know what I needed to do. I wasn't really doing anything at all. There was no direction. I could walk this way, this way. There was no flow state. There was no spirituality.
Had a slight technical difficulty there. The phone here in Queensland overheated. So I've got a wet cloth and a fan pushing right down on the phone here. So we're back online, a hotspot. How good's tech when it works? You were in such great flow, man. I will just go back to the question. It was around
Mm,
have you found your purpose? And if you have, like, how did you go about finding your purpose or awakening your purpose?
mm, mm, mm. I think when I stopped working as a chef and PT for families, I think there was a bit of a massive dull moment for me, thinking like, what am I actually going to do? And I think that's a very daunting, it's a very big question. It's a very daunting question because you think, what are you actually going to do? Like, what actually fills you up? What sparks your fire? What's actually something that's going to set yourself on fire? So you got to really make sure, like, what is the actual thing? And for me back then, I didn't really know what it was. So I started doing things, started trying things and thinking like, does this feel good? I think it's little things. Instead of thinking, what are you going to do for the rest of your life? Like, what feels good? What makes you happy? What are you excited about? Like, breaking it down even more. So for me to find my purpose, I realized what it was like not to have a purpose. And that's why I feel for me like it's about always integrating this really powerful purpose for myself right now, which basically is just to give value to the world, create something that create like an offer, give someone an experience to change lives. That's a really powerful purpose for me right now. And by doing that and having that as my purpose, it's not me centered, it's other people centered. Therefore, I'm going to have more anyway because I'm helping more people. I think it's the secret of life. It's the people you help, it's the value you give that will determine your income, and everything in life.
What benefit and value
Mm.
has finding that given you? So as you found your purpose and you're crystallizing this, what is what has that gifted you?
In a way, from there's a part of me that just wants to say it gives you like a relief, like it's like a relief for people. I think it's for me, it's just a massive relief thinking I found it. Like I know what I want to do. I know why I'm on this planet. And it's a powerful purpose to feel like I'm not chasing something else. I'm not trying to find something else. It's not coming from a place of lack. It's coming from a place of other people. So it's really giving me that sense of not security, but abundance, sense of growth, sense of contribution, a lot of things.
It's so important. That's so important. So what advice do you have for someone who's out there struggling to find their purpose? Um,
Mm, mm,
yeah, what do they do?
mm. So
What's
it's very so it's very like I guess it's very broad in a way, like when someone's struggling, what are they specifically struggling with? And how do you know they're struggling? And they're doing anything about it to stop struggling? Like for example, the person who you imagine a person that's quite maybe a bit overweight, sitting at home watching TV, and he's struggling to find his purpose. Like, is he actively out there trying to find his purpose? Is he actively out there trying new things? Is he actively out there, having new conversations? All of the things I'm doing right now, every single thing has stemmed off a conversation with someone that I know. I remember very vividly, I sat down with a friend of mine about 4 years ago. And he said to me, why are you working for sales? Why do you keep doing sales for other people? Why don't you have your own sales offer? And that one conversation grew something in a completely different direction, you know? And then a conversation a long time before that, someone said to me, why don't you just sell for people? Like, why don't you just sell? You're chasing things to make, you're working a whole week to make $900 a week. And then why don't you just sell and make $1,000 commission? Find some offers. And that blew my mind. So everything that I have now came from conversations. Everything I'm doing now, I didn't find on Seek. I didn't find on Gumtree. It was all through people, connecting with people, asking people, talking, conversation, flow state, thinking, fuck, I could actually really try and do that. Your purpose now doesn't need to be the purpose for the rest of your life. People put it in such a way, like, I speak to a lot of people on the phone. So people say to me when they're 18, literally 18, oh, I want to do this, but is this going to be something that I want to do the rest of my life? And I said, why don't you just do it now? Enjoy it, have an amazing time for 2 3 years. And maybe as you grow and evolve, that's going to be a whole different person. And then you're going to have a new purpose. I think as you grow and evolve, your purpose expands. Like my purpose I have now, I would not have had at 18. So I think the more you grow and evolve, the more people you meet, the more things you do, the more experiences you have in life, I think your purpose will keep evolving. And therefore you're receiving more.
I think that is a great piece of advice because you're so right. So many people are like, oh, yeah, I wonder if I can do this for the rest of my life. And that's daunting to think, oh gosh. And
Daunting.
to get it wrong would be massive regret and go, oh, well, I shouldn't start this then. And then people are worried
Mm.
about the negatives or drawbacks backs to just
And
giving
then
something
they
a
don't
go.
start. Exactly.
And they don't start. So what you said there was like purpose isn't really seen up front all the time. It's kind of seen looking back, and it's like,
Mm.
but being conscious of, say, yeah, working with you or getting trained by something, a company, or
Mm.
seeing
Mm.
the purpose for this chapter, that 2 years, 3 years,
Exactly.
and then okay, the next purpose is the next 12 months. I'm going to focus on this. It might go for longer, it might go for less, but that's my
Mm.
purpose, and sticking with it. So
And the question is, how do you know you have your purpose as well? That's a really good question. But more importantly,
yeah,
like, if I take two people, two case studies, put them aside, and then one person I say, look, keep working your job, keep your same network, keep doing those same things that you've always done, and then try and find your purpose that way, which most people do. Or this other person I say, look, every week for the next 6 weeks, I want you to go to a networking event. I want you to meet new people. I want you to message 5 random people you've never met before. in a group you're a part of on Facebook or Instagram potentially, and then I want you to speak to them and jump on a call with them, see what they do. And I also want you to travel for 1 month and stay everywhere, meet lots of random people, and then come back to me in 6 months and see if you found your purpose. Because I think most people that don't find their purpose, they haven't really experienced much in life yet. And they've got lot of limiting beliefs around them. Like you said before, they don't want to start because they don't want to fail, but then they don't start. And no one starts, bro. That's the thing. Like people that I don't think you can find your purpose without stepping into your uncomfort zone. You really can't. I really don't think you can. I think you got to be uncomfortable to find your purpose and evolve
Yes.
it.
Yes. You
That's a
have to
big
be
thing.
uncomfortable. Have to be uncomfortable. It
Have to be
has to get
uncomfortable.
messy. Has to get a bit wild and crazy. You need to take a few punches to the face, get kicked
Mm,
down, get back up, and that's it. Because the only reason I've found what I love to do is because I've also tried a bunch of things that I hate doing. So
mm,
I went and tried, there was like 12 jobs I had first year out of high school, and then it narrowed down to like five the next year, and
mm.
then like three. So it's over time, I had to get
Yeah.
out there. Like you got to go dating, and you got to find out what type of
Every,
partner you want to be
everything,
with,
everything, of
or
course.
or exercise as well. Like there's certain
Yeah, of
exercises
course.
I don't like doing, and some I do. So I think yeah, you have to put yourself in the ring.
Mm.
Put
It's
yourself in
like
the ring.
it's like you exercise. I don't know. I can't find my right exercise regime. Okay, what have you tried? Nothing. Oh, interesting. Same thing with a business. If you don't like try anything, you don't know what's going to work. It's the same anything. So I think it's all connected, brother, in a way. Relationships, in business, in like purpose, and all of it.
100%, 100%. It sounds like there's this theme and kind of just feeling into what we've been chatting about. It's the importance of authenticity and
Mm,
being yourself, and putting yourself out there, even though it is fearful. You've put yourself out there, you've connected with people, and you haven't had the clarity up front sometimes, but you've been open to listen. I think
mm,
listening is a massive key to success.
mm. Yeah.
What do you have any tips on wealth? I think there's a massive shift going on right now since COVID. People are wanting to follow their passion and find their purpose more than ever.
Mm,
There's more freedom, so people can work from home or other coffee shops, and kind of there's more freedom. But maybe um,
mm,
I've focused the last 10 years of my life on helping people with their health, and that's made me quite financially free and has been it's amazing, but that's helping with people with their health. And I found over the last couple of years, it's like some people who even are so sick and are so
mm.
in a bad place with their health, and I show them the solutions, they still don't even want the answers, and it's been a bit of a challenge to offer someone a health solution. It's made me.
And why do you think that is?
I think people, well, I think people value, like and then I flick my mind to like finances. People are willing to spend, 10 grand on some business mastermind or business event where they're not willing to spend, say, 10 grand on their health. I think it comes back to values. So
Mm,
majority people have a higher value on finances because it probably is security and certainty rather
mm.
than their health.
Yeah, of
And
course.
so my focus for the next 10 years is
Mm,
helping people really, it was for the last 10 years was
mm,
co-creating the healthiest people on the planet. And I feel
mm,
like I've done that and I'm living that. And now it's like, I want to create the wealthiest people on the planet, you know? And that's this type of a conversation too, with
mm.
building this mastermind of elite men who are just like on, on the path to become their best version, add massive value, build massive amounts of wealth, and then we can invest in those incredible things. So,
Of course.
what are some tips that you have around wealth creation, or what's the mindset or the primary
Mm,
question now that you have that helps you, I guess, yeah, generate wealth?
mm. I think, like you said before, like that model, I think it's important to find out what you're good at. I think it's really great to focus on your strengths, not your weaknesses as you begin. So for me, I was really great at sales. I built lots of things in sales, still building lots of things in sales. So sales was a good thing for me. So that was my strength. So for people, first is to find your strength, and then is to try to find out who would need that strength, and kind of, as you would in business, do market research, kind of understand like which direction you can take your strength. For example, sales, you can do things like creating an agency, you can do sales for people, you can teach people sales, you can do sales for business, you can do lots of different areas when it comes to sales. There's a lot of different avenues you can take this. So when it comes to actually doing that for people, it's like, cool, what is your skill? How do you put that out in the world? Who wants it? Who would like it? How do you give it to them which is like the offer. So what are you actually offering them? Where do you find them? And then how do you close them? I think it's really simple if you're looking at that type of business model. But it comes back to a lot of self-work as well. Like, what do you actually, it comes back to people to work on that beforehand, because I think if people just jump into this type of stuff without thinking, why am I doing this? People need to have that self-awareness with themselves. I think a lot of people, as you and I both know, they're in the system. They love watching TV. They love not exposing themselves to new things in life, and then if we just tell them to do something, we don't want to just tell them. We want to teach them why, because that's how you're going to grow. So I think that's the most important thing. Like, who are you actually serving? Where are they? And how do you get them into a program and offer a service and to go in that direction as well? But I think wealth building to begin with, if you have a blank canvas, if nothing comes to mind, maybe go out to an event, meet a lot of people, get a lot of conversations happening, and that will help you to start brainstorming, because you don't know what you don't know. And if you come from a traditional job like me as a chef, I had no idea this whole world existed. No idea. I had no idea. I really did not. I was working as a chef. My dream was to have a restaurant. And if people asked me how to make money, the only way that I could think of back then was to have a restaurant. It's insane. But then when I started doing all these events, meeting new people, every time I was like, fuck, that's a really good idea. I tried so many things as well. I just tried things. I think if you want to become wealthy, take time out of execution. So idea, execution, make it quick. I think a lot of people, most people, they have an idea and they sit on it for at least 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, and they don't do anything about it. So if you have an idea, execute as quick as you can, because then you can see, is that something that I even want to do? A lot of people that even I speak to, if it comes to, for example, e-commerce or trading or something, they want to do it for so long and then they actually do it and then they don't want to do it. So those 3 years of doing it, but it kind of gives you that self-validation as well, because even having an idea, like for example, if you're wanting to lose weight, if the thought of actually going to the gym is actually a good feeling and actually thinks you're going to the gym, wow, this is a good thing. Or for example, if you don't go to the gym today, but then you're going to say, I didn't go to the gym today, that's okay, but I'm going to go tomorrow. And then it's going to self-validate and think, oh, I'm actually going tomorrow, that's fine. Same thing with an idea. I don't have a business, but I've got an idea. An idea is going to work. So it's kind of, again, coming back to that reality with people, when it comes to wealth building. So idea and execution, take out the time. And that's a really great advice for people.
100%. 100%. What a great conversation. This is
Good conversation, brother. Yeah, of course, man. Of course.
Golden nuggets of wisdom. I hope everyone at home is taking notes. Any questions with Adam, please reach out to him. I'm going to have the link to his Instagram somewhere around here. His first name _ last name. I'll get that here somewhere around the video. My question to you, okay, sales, and we'll kind of wrap it up in a couple questions. But yeah, talking about sales, like some people, I guess, come into the businesses that I've been a part of and they have some negative stigmas around sales. And it sounds like you've really mastered this skill set of sales and you're teaching it and you're getting amazing results. So what are some of the main hiccups around people's mindset when they get into sales? And then how do you help people, I guess, master this topic?
So I guess with their belief around sales, first you got to think and speak to them about where did this belief actually come from. So actually talking about the belief and kind of understanding why they have a negative belief when it comes to sales. Most people, including myself, when I started selling, I had an anxiety feeling when I started selling, like an anxious feeling, because my grandmother, every time someone would call her at her home, she would say, oh, these telemarketers, they're trying to sell me something. And I was thinking, fuck, these guys, oh my God, they're trying to sell us something. And that used to be my thing. That used to be my belief around sales. So once I understood that's where it came from, then I started having more of an empowering meaning and I kept reframing myself and getting rid of that trauma. Then I started putting a really empowering meaning towards sales. Because if you look around you in the room, I guarantee you nothing around you has not been sold to you. Everything around you, it's been sold to you at some point, and it's been sold to that person who made it at some point. The computer I'm using right now, Apple sold it to me. The parts that they use, they would have sold it to Apple. Like everything around you has been sold to you. So if you look at it, sales like that, it's just not really about that negative feeling or belief. It's actually a transference of energy and certainty as well, and actually transferring something to someone that they need. It's problem solution. So if you look at sales like that in a great way, when people start working with me or even with yourself in general, with sales, if they have a negative belief, it's always important firstly to work out where it's coming from, help them reframe it, because it's just a mindset thing for them. You know, some people get really positive around sales, some people get really negative. Why? Because it's the meaning they're associating to selling. Most people, they associate a negative meaning to selling. And that's why when it comes to the way I sell a lot in metaphors and stories and other ways, which is not really intense for people, but I still get the outcome that I want, you know? But I think as we're progressing in this world, I think more people are kind of opening up when it comes to sales now, because it's kind of people are like accepting it more, because it is life. Sales is life. You know, you can't, it's the number one skill. Everything you should, like back in the day when it's like bartering and stuff, the people that made a lot of money, the people that could sell anything and everything around you is sales. And that's a really great way to understand sales for people with a belief.
Sure. Yeah. Having a look around this where I am right now, I'm just like, everything is just a
Everything.
product that some
It's all
every
a
my
yeah,
clothes, like this floor, my bag,
it's
food
all
in the
something.
cupboards.
Of
Like,
course, of course. And it comes back down to as well, like your belief. The thing is, if you're convicted and you have a purpose on why you're selling what you're selling, if you generally think that what you're selling can honestly transform the person, then it is literally your moral obligation to sell it to that person. Because if you don't sell it to that person, then they're not going to get the results. You know, if you're, like you said before, if you're speaking to a really overweight person, you've got your solution that you have at the moment. If you sit down with that person and you explain it to them and they say no, or they say it's not a good time, or they say don't sell me, you know, at the end of the day, you have something that's going to transform their life. They need it. So it is your moral obligation to sell it to them, because if you sell it to them after 12 weeks, they're going to be thanking you. That's the thing. You know, if you, it's like, I don't call it sales. I call it break. I don't call it sales calls. I call it breakthrough calls, because people on the phones, it's literally like that half an hour can change their whole life. Because if you have someone going in that direction because of their eating bad and everything, and then you can take it in this direction, you know for a fact if they get off the phone call and they don't close with you, they're going to keep going in that direction, and you haven't done your job. You know, that's why it's such a high paid skill, because you're getting great results with people. It's a very tangible, it's a very tangible skill to have.
that is really, really powerful. So they're breakthrough calls. So
Breakthrough calls, of course.
yeah, instead of so sales is
Mm,
breakthroughs,
mm,
and it's for most people listening, it's about taking the lens. If you see sales as like salesy and negative or whatever it is, um, I know there's some negative stuff around it, but if you take that lens off and you put on the new lens of this is
mm,
a breakthrough conversation where you're matching, it's a win-win. And I'd say win-win-win, because if it's good for them, good for you, and good for the world, it's a win-win-win. So yeah, this is creating a whole nother thing, a whole nother element here. And what you said before is that negative experience, going into that negative experience of, yeah, your grandma had the telemarketers and things like that. Um, I think for me, what I started to see with sales, because I naturally am an introvert, and I definitely felt high levels of anxiety doing network marketing at a young age, or tele sales, or door knocking that I've done. And what really helped me strengthen my belief in and importance in sales, the value of it, was writing out all the benefits
mm,
to this sale. So it's 50 benefits, 100 benefits, 200 benefits of this product in someone else's hands, and me selling this, or helping someone have a breakthrough with my product. When I
mm.
found that there was more benefits to those drawbacks, that helped me see my perception had changed, and my sales went through the roof.
It's
Yeah,
true.
for sure.
That's
For
true. Even like 2 weeks ago, which is a normal thing for myself and everyone I work with. So I closed a 15K deal it took me 2 hours and 10 minutes on one call, which is a long time. My calls usually like 20 to 40 minutes, 30 minutes max normally. But this person, they had so much limiting belief. They had so much fear. They had all these things coming up for them, and I had so much stuff I had to break through on that call. If I didn't believe in them, and if I didn't believe in what I was doing, if I didn't believe that this was the best thing for them, if it came from a place of ego, of just like making money, then I couldn't have stayed on that call with that person for so long. He would have hung up on me straight away, because I would have come off as pushy, right? So because you come in with an intent to actually change their life and transform their life, then that means they're going to get results, and therefore you're going to get results as well. It's a win-win and a win, because he's going to have that outcome, that service that's going to change his life. And if he's making more money, when he makes more money, he's going to help people around him, and then they're going to have a better life as well. And then people will see him making more money and ask him as well. So it's like this. It's like sales is like shining a light. So you shining light on one person, and they're dark, for example, in whatever way it looks like, and then they become brighter, and then they go back to their ecosystem with their people around them, and then they become brighter. That's how I see it. So if you're doing your health service as well, like you mentioned before, if you help one person become really healthy and maybe they lose 20, 30, 40 kilos, they're going to go back to their family of people that may be overweight as well. Wow, what did Darren do? He looks amazing. That's really cool. How did you do it? And then boom, then they're growing their ecosystem of people becoming healthy as well, and so on. So I think, and it all comes back down to you if you were able to close that person on that phone call. So if you look at it that way, if I don't close this person, all of that stuff isn't going to happen. And that person's going to stay exactly where they are for the next 5, 10, 15 years. That should give you a really strong motivation and push to help deliver the outcome for that person.
100%.
You know,
100%.
that's
It's
really
coming from the heart and not the head, and
100%. 100%.
having that the strong belief in, as
Mm,
you said, them doing
mm,
it, your product, and holding that space to chat through the uncomfortableness
mm.
of the 2.5 hour conversation. That's meant like, yeah, that's yeah,
Too much.
it's a lot of stuff. So
Okay.
that's huge.
Mm.
Cool. Look at this. Look at this conversation. Health, wealth, finances, business, purpose. This is huge. This
Still
is
happening.
huge.
Yeah.
So,
In that podcast.
final question is around what advice do you have for men out there? Um,
Mm.
what for men out there in general, and then men out there who, yeah, either wanting to start a business or have started a business and getting some roadblocks. Um, what's a couple of pieces of advice that we can wrap this up on, man?
Mm. I think if you have a business, I think it's always to understand the exact thing that is going wrong to actually have the right data to make the right decision. I think that's one of the most important things to track everything so you know what is actually your chokehold, not what you think is your chokehold. That's a really important thing in business that most people overlook. They just think that's the problem. The leads are shit, or the sales calls are not answering, or I'm not closing. Oh, why aren't you closing? Because the leads are shit. Oh, fuck. You can actually tell because no one actually knows. So I think to have the right data is really important, but also to have fun with it. I think business is such a long slog for people. They feel like it's so long, it's tiring. They're trying to push to become the best, but we forget to have fun. I think it's important to bring an element of fun and enthusiasm with the business because if you can't be fun in your business, that's an extension for yourself, and then that's going to come through your whole life, and then it's going to be like a job, and you can't wait to finish and clock off because then you can go to have a job, go have some time off. You want to have it like an integrated part of you in your life, not having it separate. I think that's really important in yourself. Instead of trying to find balance of this is your business, this is your life, like integrate them both together. So then it's like a whole abundance for yourself, not try and like be a separation. That's a I think that's a very powerful way to live if you're coming from that place.
100%. Fun. It's great to end on that. It's so true. Yeah. Oh, there's been times where everything's so serious. It's all about
Especially,
results. And if I'm not there, I'm not happy. And oh gosh. So yeah, having fun, having that play and doing business with friends or family can be challenging, but like the right friends and the right family can be a lot of fun as well. So I think yeah, that's definitely my intention, has been my intention over the last couple of years or so. It's like, how can I add more fun to business?
yeah,
What,
yeah.
like it's it's an energy thing. And then when I'm having more fun, then the people who are on the other end of the Zoom or the
Mhm.
presentation or whatever I'm doing, they're having more fun too. So that's actually one of my main intentions when I'm doing um like podcast, like mainly interviews and things like that for myself, but also um webinars and masterclasses, because I'm
Mhm.
so excited by some of these topics, and me just
Mm,
being excited, people are like, why is this guy so excited about quantum physics and like frequency and energy vibration? It's like, yeah, I don't know, it just excites me. I spend hours on kind of researching this stuff, and then I go, oh yeah, let me show everyone how excited I am for this.
mm,
I study this stuff in my spare time. Like, why not get excited about it?
yeah.
So, yeah, bringing that to the forefront and owning it has been a game
Mm.
changer. Yeah.
Beautiful, man. No, that's amazing. Thanks for sharing that, dude. That's awesome.
And these tips that you've been sharing, like, you've come from, you've been in it, you've been in the trenches for so long, and I'm sure people look at you and go, oh gosh, you're so successful now. um they don't know where you've come from. How old are you now?
27.
27. This is 12 years of you, putting yourself in the trenches and going for it, dude. And you've mastered your health, you've mastered your wealth. We didn't talk about relationships, the love of your life now as well. And it's just like, it's so cool to see another man on purpose.
Mm, mm,
This is the best thing. Together, I think it's so important that we have these discussions and we don't have the campfire effect as much anymore. But whether it's a men's circle or online mastermind or getting coaching from yourself and learning about sales, and um, this is changes lives. There's
mm.
one
100%.
conversation.
One conversation, yeah, of course.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Everyone connect with Adam McCaughey on Instagram. I'll link the link here somewhere around here, man. And yeah, we'll chat soon.
Amazing, Zach. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you, bro. Love your work.
Before you guys go, something to keep in mind. We've been talking about wealth, freedom, financial freedom, creating businesses to create more time freedom to do what you love. And what better way to talk about this than something that's helped me in the last 3 years create financial freedom, residual passive income, and to be able to give me the time freedom to spend quality time with friends and family, travel the world, and really helped me achieve my purpose, which was helping to co-create the healthiest and wealthiest people on the planet. So before you guys go, check out this. You're probably wondering, what was this thing on his shirt? This is the Healy, right? From Germany. Their bigger machine is about 100,000 euros, and they've compressed it. It's a machine that, with the technology, it's now a wearable. It's a portable. It scans my body through the app, through the technology, to see what's out of balance. Could be energy, sleep, pain, anxiety, digestion, whatever it is. It figures out what's out of balance in my body and then runs microcurrent through cords into my body like this, or into sticky pads or ear clips for anxiety. It's amazing. I love it. I use it all the time. And I've got a massive team, over 10,000 people. I've been doing this full time, helping train people on the product. We have online training and courses and all that type of thing. And secondly, if you love the product and you want to share it through the business model of referral marketing, social selling, direct sales, network marketing, whatever you want to call it, we've now helped to achieve massive success within our own lives. This is myself, my business partner, multiple people around the world, whether it's another $1,000 a week or $10,000 a week or more than that. This business opportunity is really unique, and it's creating so much freedom that's aligning people to their purpose. That's what this is all about, helping people awaken their purpose and give people options. So if you're curious, if you're into health and wellness, if you're into mindset, if you're into personal growth, if you want to travel and give back and really activate your purpose now, get in touch with me. I'll put my link in here below. You can organize a quick call and I can share everything with you. If not, totally cool as well. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you on the next podcast. Bye.